Tucker Carlson unpacks a lot on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it's so heavy that you can actually feel the clouds gather.
I'm not always convinced I'm on the good side. I've been, an instrument of evil many times in my life, and I'm ashamed of it.
In this episode, Tucker talks about God in ways that you might not be ready for, but you can't afford to miss it. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button for more videos like this.
For sure, the Kenneth Arnold sightings, that was really early on. That was like the early 1950s. He was seeing these flying saucers, these discs that were moving over mountains.
Well, right. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel writes about it in the first chapter, wheels in the sky.
That's a crazy one. Boy, when you read
it is crazy. If you read it, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
a wheel
so,
within a
and not
wheel.
just, the Hebrew scriptures, like it's all over every...
The Vedic texts.
Of course. So these are spiritual phenomenon. There's no evidence they're from another planet. I mean, I think that's the that's the lie, that they're from Mars. Look, space, the atmosphere is really well monitored, right? Both for defense reasons, but also because, like, it'd be nice to know when asteroids are coming. And there's no evidence, has never been any evidence that there are lots of these objects, these vehicles coming into our atmosphere from somewhere else, some other planet. There's no evidence of that at all. So they're from here, and they've been here for thousands of years, whatever they are. And it's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever that means. They're supernatural, and which is to say, supernatural means above the natural, above the observable nature.
Well, nobody expects to hear about God when talking about UFOs, right? Or am I the only one who thinks both subjects are kind of at opposing ends? Yet Tucker makes it make sense in a thought-provoking way. Remember Robert Laser, the guy in 1989 who claimed to have worked on extraterrestrial tech for the US government in Area 51, and even saw photos of alien autopsies while at it? Well, those of us old enough to remember also remember how hard the US government doubled down to discredit him. I don't know about you, but that says a lot. People still have sightings till date. Although, interestingly, there are a lot more attempts at discrediting them. Tucker's position here is that these aren't aliens from space. Otherwise, our well-monitored airspace, which always seems to be accurately accounting for every asteroid headed in our direction, would have detected them. Rather, they're evidence of the supernatural. Makes you think a lot more about these so-called extraterrestrial sightings, doesn't it?
The other thing, that was actually a great savings life. No, it's wrong to drop nuclear weapons on people. And if you find yourself arguing that it's a good thing to drop nuclear weapons on people, then you are evil. Like it's not a tough one, right? It's not a hard call for you. It's not a hard call for me. So with that in mind, like, why would you want nuclear weapons? It's like just a mindless, childish sort of intellectual exercise to justify, like, oh no, it's really good because someone else will get it. How about no? How about like spending all of your effort to prevent this from happening? Would you kill baby Hitler, famously?
Right.
So I don't know why we're sitting back and allowing this to happen if we really believe it will extinguish the human race or enslave the human race. Like, how can that be good?
Well, if God creates everything, if God created the universe and God creates people, God probably creates a process. And we think that we are very important because we are very important to us. But are we very important in a universal sense? Not really. Like, if the Earth just imploded and disappeared, if the sun went supernova and our whole solar system was blown to bits, the universe still exists.
Do your
kids matter
how about
to
this?
us.
Do your children matter?
Yes, sure.
Do their lives matter?
For
Would you
us,
die for them?
yeah.
Yes, of course.
The subject of good and evil is always going to be prevalent because, we are wired that way. We've got a conscience that tells one apart from the other, and even though some people have learned to kill that voice, it still doesn't change anything. Tucker brings up nuclear power in this light, wondering how people still go for it even though we all know its potential for literally destroying the entire world. When Joe tied this to our sense of importance, it highlighted something significant that we often shy away from. And that's how dangerous it is for any group to think that they're more important than anyone or anything. It leads to a range of selfish decisions that more often than not end up being destructive. In light of these things, it's always easy to see the miserable side of it all, just like Joe does. But then Tucker introduces a fresh perspective. And if you think about things that way, it's difficult not to see the value in humanity. The great thing about a revelation like this is it's not the kind that gives you this overinflated sense of importance. This kind makes you know you're valuable enough to keep your place in the fight between good and evil.
But there's something more. Like, there are a lot of people who seem to be just like for evil for its own sake. And you're like, maybe all the like crazy talk about a spiritual war of like good and evil, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's like everyone else has always thought that. Maybe
there are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
But they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, people are better than they naturally are sometimes. Like, you feel compassion for people or true empathy for someone, or you really want to help someone. There's no advantage to you at all. Like, why are you doing that? It's almost like you're being acted on by good. And all of us have known those moments where we just are cruel for the sake of it, hurt someone for the sake of it. What's that? There's no advantage to us. That's evil acting on us. And I think we're seeing it at scale. And like,
whenever we bring up the concept of a spiritual war, people often laugh it away, to be honest. Maybe it's because it makes them think of beings of fire and dark smoke slugging it out somewhere in the sky. And I mean, even if that's true, I can see how that's kind of hard to chew in a general sense. Come to think of it, maybe the spiritual war is not so much on the scale of a fantasy epic as it is the kind of thoughts that come into our minds. Subtle impulses that, like Tucker points out, influences us to either do good or evil. Most people miss this, and that's because they don't pay attention to it. But those who do can tell you that every deed, good or evil, first comes from the mind, and that most times those thoughts aren't premeditated. They just drop in from out of the blue, kind of like seeds, and we can nurture them into growth or kill them off entirely. This leads to a crucial realization, and Tucker presents it in the best way possible.
Which is a synonym for bad people come together for strength and safety. They act as one. Mm-hmm. The hive mind is specific to a certain group of people, bad people, and that good people don't tend to come together, but they're coming together now. And I just noticed this. I mean, people independently who I know or sort of know, in many cases have long despised, have come to exactly the same conclusions without talking to each other. Mm-hmm. I know that you have this experience all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe you think that. How did you wind up thinking that?
Right.
And not just on a specific issue like foreign policy or COVID or whatever, but like on a whole bunch of different things. They're all coming to the same conclusion, and they're coming together. And so that does suggest, you know, a big change and a battle. I mean, it is a battle between good and evil. I'm not always convinced I'm on the good side. I've been, you know, an instrument of evil many times in my life, and I'm ashamed of it. But,
are you talking about the Iraq War?
Yeah, the Iraq War. I've been cruel to people, probably even already on your show, in ways that are unjustified. That's my instinct to do that. That's a fault, not, you know, not something to brag about. It's something I'm ashamed of. So I'm not saying I'm always on the right side. I certainly have not always been on the right side. I've been on the wrong side many, many times. But that doesn't change the fact that there is good, there is evil. They are at war with each other, and we are subject to the effects of that conflict, and that we're seeing it suddenly play out in ways that are really, really obvious.
The most important takeaway from what Tucker admits about himself here is that every person has the capacity for good and evil. Nobody is born with a mark that says you're evil or you're good. We're all just a product of the influences we allow to hold sway in and over our minds. Even Proverbs says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. It goes to show that the same mind that's responsible for good can also be responsible for bad. And honestly, that's why testimonies like Tucker's are important. If we're being honest here, no person by themselves can be holy enough. Over the course of our lives, we've made decisions that we're not proud of, and there's no guarantee that we won't repeat them despite how much we fight against them. This is why Jesus is the only way out. By approaching God through Jesus, we have the best model of good to fight against evil. Suddenly, winning doesn't look so impossible anymore. Did this touch you? Does it provoke thoughts or questions? Maybe you have an opinion you want to share. Leave them all in the comments section. If you like this video, you'd be doing someone a favor by sharing it with them. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.